So if you've been watching my videos lately, you know that I've been trying to make high quality content that helps new players and veteran players alike in Idle Heroes. And I promised myself that once I hit 500 subs, I was really going to try and relax and only make content that I would enjoy watching, that I thought had value for my viewers. But you know, sometimes DH Games gives you a gift that you weren't quite expecting. Case in point right here. You know, some people ask why, DH Games ask why not. So in this video, I'm going to be rating all the new 4-star heroes and their new artwork. Definitely not going to be anything value added whatsoever in this video. Just going to be talking about my opinions on the artwork. I'm going to be doing a tier list of what I think is better, what I think is worse, what I think is about the same, and asking some questions like with this grumpy corpse, like what the heck was DH Games thinking? I will say, you know, a lot of people are asking why. I will remind you, like, DH Games doesn't necessarily care about you. If you're already playing this game, they're not really trying to make you happy by making the artwork good or bad because you're already hooked to their game. They're probably trying to, you know, appeal to a new audience, and somewhere out there, there's some survey that has said this kind of goofy, strange artwork appeals to more players and that'll attract more players, and so they can get more people to play their game and spend more money. So they're not trying to make you happy. They're trying to make new players happy and trying to grab them with, you know, their more details and more interesting characters. So that's the one value added thing I'll say. The rest of this is all complete trash and me just ranking these. So stick around if you want to. If not, I'll see you in another video where I'm actually providing some form of relevant content. So while you won't learn anything in particular from this video, I will say I did put a lot of effort into it. I did get all the thumbnails for all the 4-star heroes. And I did create my own tier list and tier maker so that we'll be going through and putting the heroes in there. So I had a few different categories. You know, usually tiers are A through F or S through F. And in this, it was more comparing, is it better than the original artwork? So we got the first category, significantly better. Then we have better, the same, worse, significantly worse, and at the bottom, what? Like, what were they thinking? So I will have a link in the comments to this own tier list. If you want to, you know, create your own and tweet at me, you're more than welcome to. Give me your thoughts. Obviously, art is subjective. These are just going to be my opinions based on me being, you know, an old white guy. You know, this is what I think. But feel free to argue with me. Hopefully you'll find it interesting, and let's go ahead and get some heroes started. So the first hero we're going to be looking at is Emolitus in the change he got. And I'll start by saying Emolitus is actually one that I like quite a bit. I like the hair. I like the long hair. I think that's pretty neat. I definitely miss the cuffs on him, you know, and I guess it's just the 5-star version that has the cuffs, so maybe at 5 stars he gets it. I just kind of like the look of him. He's a little bit rock and roll, got a little bit of the Elvis haircut going on. So I actually like Emolitus. I asked my son about all these pictures, by the way, and you know, he had thoughts on where he put things. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna take Emolitus. I'm actually gonna say Emolitus is better. I like him better. So that's probably start off a little spicy, but that's where we're going. Okay, going on to our next hero, we have Nora. Some people like the changes to Nora. They like the sexuality, getting a little higher on the leg. Me, I'm a gentleman. I don't need that. And it seems like her eyes, the big difference is her eyes changed from, you know, red to yellow, and the horns got a little bit more noticeable. Overall, though, I think Nora is relatively solid where she's at. I think she's about the same for me, and so we'll put her in the same category. Okay, next up we have Alleria. Alleria, I'm pretty disappointed in. I do like the large skull on the shoulder. I like, you know, switching hands to the club on this hand. I don't really like the whitewashing of her. You know, she was cool with her dark purple skin. I don't quite get why we had to change the color of her skin. I feel like her eyes aren't quite as cool. She's a little bit more gothic. So Alleria, I'm not super happy with. Alleria, I'm going to be putting in worse. I think she's just slightly worse. You know, it is funny, like, saying these names out loud for the first time ever. You know, I don't actually necessarily read the 4-star hero names or even look at them. But we've got Megaton. And I do not like the changes for Megaton at all. I think he looks significantly worse. Just losing the gold face mask here. Some of the characteristics of being more of a demon. His nose getting a lot longer. Being just kind of wide like that. I don't like him at all. So we're going to say significantly worse on Megaton. Okay, next up we got Akash. I actually like the changes to Akash quite a bit. I think she just looks better as a character that's in this realm of heroes. Akash always looked a little too human to me. I like that her eye makeup, you know, I think looks a little bit more devilish. I think her horns look a little bit more defined. I like the wings. The wings look much cooler with these little claws hanging on them. So Akash, I'm actually going to put our first significantly better. I do like the changes to Akasha quite a bit. Tanner is an interesting hero here. You know, his look changed quite a bit. He went from being this pretty large guy, you know, smaller top of his head that then got wider as you went down to, you know, being pretty thin waist and pretty wide shoulders at the top. So they almost flipped his proportions on him. Tanner, so he flipped. I definitely think he's worse. I could see why he's more appealing of a design, you know, to some younger folks than me. Some younger folks listen to me. So Tanner, I do think Tanner is worse. We're going to go ahead and put Tanner in our worst category. I don't think he's significantly worse. He is pretty changed. Like I said, his proportions are almost flipped around, but I don't hate it. Okay, next up we have Destroyer. Destroyer's a hero that actually gets used some at 4 and 5 stars, so he's a pretty familiar design. They did keep his like pretty big round bottom, which I actually like his round bottom. They added some, you know, spikes on his shoulders, which my son thought was pretty cool. I think his horns look a little better than they were just being kind of goofy ears beforehand. And his weapon also looks cooler, I think. But, you know, where it's really killing me is his teeth. That was one of the defining things of Destroyer, was those big teeth. And you're not getting those teeth at all here. So I think there were some improvements to Destroyer, but overall I think he's a little worse. So we're going to put him in the worst category. And I bet we're going to, like, the worst category, if I'm going to guess ahead of time, is going to be a pretty large category, but we'll see where it ends up. Okay, and then the final Abyss hero we have is Rogue. Rogue. And I don't like these changes. I liked his, you know, large nose. Maybe this is a little less problematic of a look for him. The detail on the shirt is very boring. It's just a plain white shirt. They kept the beard, which is pretty nice. The hair is not as interesting. Again, I think it's just much less of a unique look, and I really don't like the way he looks, so I'm going to put him in significantly worse. Okay, moving on to the dark heroes. I'm just kind of going alphabetical, so it's like A for Biz, D for Dark. It's just the way my images got saved. I know it's not necessarily the order of, you know, that the heroes are in. But moving on to the dark heroes, we got Dark Spirit, and I really dislike the look of Dark Spirit here. I don't know why. It like really unsettled me when I looked at it. I like the classic design. I liked how he seemed like I guess this one seems more like a spirit in a way, but I just don't like the armor as much. The little teeth on the shoulders are maybe a nice touch if you like them, but I like the, you know, the big shoulder pads he used to have. So Dark Spirit, I'm going to put in significantly worse. I don't like Dark Spirit. Next up, we got Darkness Fenella. Overall, I think this hero looks pretty dang similar. Maybe a little bit wider, a little bit more cartoony. The purples are not as deep of purples. But overall, I like that we see the teeth more. It's a little bit more of a horror look. And I like Darkness Fenella, so I'm going to keep him as the same. Definitely did not get worse. So good job on that, DH Games. So I was looking at the new Logan, and I hate the way this hero looks. And I was getting ready to just trounce on how bad he looks, and then I realized I also hate the way the old Logan looks quite a lot, to the point that I actually think this Logan does look better. I still think he is awful looking. Don't like his look whatsoever, but the old Logan design, if you look at it, it is just a complete mess about what is going on with this hero, whereas at least the new Logan is, you can kind of make out features on him. Still just a giant mess, but you can see his eyes a little bit better underneath the mask. So we're putting, you know, Logan in the better category, but he's still an awful design. Okay, moving on to the Force heroes, we have Zekkus here. Zekkus, they definitely leaned a little bit more into his frog look. I can appreciate slightly what they're doing with the eyes getting more bulbous like that, but for me, this is a big downgrade. I liked how wise Zekkus looked. I liked just something about the way he looked. I enjoyed making him as a 5-star and a 6-star hero. And so for me, Zekkus is definitely worse looking. Okay, next up we have the Gray-Eyed, and this is a design I actually like a lot. I like the old Gray-Eyed quite a bit in his design. But I feel like this new one's just a little bit more predatory, a little bit more hulky, a little bit more scary, not quite as goofy, and the large hands almost feel like more deserved on this new design. It's not changed too much, but something about just him leaning forward. I actually do like this design quite a bit, so I will be putting that into the significantly better category. I do like the Gray-Eyed for sure. This was one of my son's favorite ones, so that was pretty cool. Okay, getting on to Cargath. I am very disappointed in this design. The fact that now he only has 1 axe instead of he used to have 2. He's way more goofy looking. He has a long nose, like the light blue skin instead of the dark blue fur. Very disappointed the new cargath changes. I always thought the old one looked pretty dang cool, kind of like a Kung Fu Panda kind of look going on. Very tough guy. This is just more like, you know, what is it? Baloo Bear. Who's the one that steals picnic baskets? I apologize, everybody. Oh my God. But, you know, that bear, the one that steals picnic baskets, he's just goofy looking. Don't like him at all. Kind of almost looks like sloth-like. So where do we put Cargath? Because he's either significantly worse or he's literally like, what were they thinking? And you know what? Honestly, with Cargath, I'm going to say what? I think this is just a bad decision. He does have 2 axes. I see the one on his back, but I liked it in the 2 hands. And I do not like this new nose. So Cargath goes on our first, and what were they thinking? Okay, so with Thale, you know, we are going for a much more younger look. The original design was much more matronly, a little bit older, the wings a little larger. I never actually noticed that Thale like connected to the ground in the original design, whereas here it's very, very obvious, like she has plant legs. So if you're going for that theme of her being like plant, you know, nature-y, I think this is hitting a little bit harder. She looks a little bit more elvish. I don't like it because I like the like matron design of the original one. But if what they were going for was like this kind of nature-y look, you know, having this book there, her wand is more pronounced. So even though I don't personally like that they're changing the character, I think the actual design itself is better. So we'll be putting Thale in the better category. And next up is Head Striker. I never liked the way this champion looked at all. I don't know why, but the original design I didn't really like. You can see they changed her eyes from green to yellow. She's got a little bit more armor on her now. Her cape's a little bit more defined. She still has both of her swords and a similar pose. You know, and she feels more foresty. It feels more rangery. Feels less like, I don't know. I mean, obviously she's an assassin, but I just like the forest look a little bit more, a little bit thicker, a little bit more pointy ears. So overall, I never was a big fan of the Head Striker design in the first place. So we're going to say that this one is actually better. Intolder is another one that's kind of interesting because his design changed quite a lot. You know, where he was this like gangly kind of treant looking one from like Lord of the Rings, a little like Christmas tree looking, a little bit more nature. Whereas it's like Int Elder feels more like a Hearthstone design, like very homely, you know, just very wide and thick and very big tree. You know, he's got the bird on him. I don't know if the original design had a bird. I don't necessarily see one. It looks like he had a beehive. I like the little active bird. I like the mushrooms on his thing. Definitely feels like he's part of the forest. So they're very different designs, but overall, I'm actually going to be putting this in the same. It's different, but I do like it. I don't think it's worse for sure. It's maybe even leaning towards better. I do think the forest designs are getting up there to being some of the better designed ones. Next up we have Chief. This is a design I actually like a lot. My son was big on Chief. He liked that he looked like a rhino, he said, and I agree, he looks like a rhino. He looks even more like a rhino. Again, we got some whitewashing going on here where, you know, he was blue skinned and now we're making him more pale, but he is more realistic to what the color that a rhino actually is. His sword looks significantly better in my opinion. Something about the coloring, it looks like way more energized, way better coloring there. The shoulder pads look like they're fitting more in the right spot, more comfortable. I like having the shield in front there instead of just looks like he has a horn maybe. And I like how they made his face just slightly longer, slightly more unique. So overall, I like Chief. I'm actually going to say Chief is significantly better. I like the original design a little bit, but I think the new one is quite a bit better. Okay, and then the final force hero we have is Windwalker. Windwalker, it looks like they're doing a lot of the similar things that they did with Head Striker, where they are changing her up. Her eyes went from yellow to yellow, so they're staying the same. Her bow is a little bit more defined. She's just more like full, more rangery. So it's kind of funny that like Head Striker I liked more. Windwalker I don't like quite as much for some reason. She's just a little too like big. Like I don't know. It's just like it's weird that I liked Head Striker, but Windwalker I'm not feeling it. I don't know if it's the coloring. I'm not quite sure what it was. I did not like the thumbnail for Windwalker. You know, this like very, very red hair that she had at 5-star. And I guess I didn't really realize her hair could change color. But yeah, I don't know. For some reason I'm not feeling Windwalker. I think she's just slightly worse. So we're going to put her in worst category. So moving on to the Fortress heroes, the first up is Christian. Christian is somebody that's very near and dear to my heart. He's definitely one of the heroes I'm always building as a 6-star or as a 9-star. They didn't change his look like too much. They made him like a little bit more wider, which doesn't really make, like, his chest is bigger, which doesn't really make sense with how old he is. They made the coloring on his shield like more pronounced. They gave him these spikes. You know, they really made those energized, like they did with the Rhino's, you know, sword and doing that. And giving him a mirror was kind of fancy. I do like the mirror thing, so the thumbs up for the mirror. But overall, I don't like him. He's just like way too buff for being an old guy. There was something about him like Ronin style. I don't know, just being old, like being out of it, but like still being a tough guy. Whereas this is just a little too much for like his age, and I don't quite love it. So I am going to say that Christian is worse. Iron Bambi is our next hero. I do not love what they did with this hero at all. We had a very tough, very cool girl before this, had a cool haircut, had some, you know, spike to her, pretty tough girl, and they've really just rounded her out a bunch. You know, they've cleaned her armor up a little bit, so it's a little bit nicer looking. But the actual look of the face, you know, you go from having this really tough punk girl that was, you know, I felt very empowered by her, to just this rounded, featured, you know, just not doing it for me thing. So I'm going to say Iron Bambi is significantly worse. Not bad enough to be what, but just I'm not feeling it. So we've got LMO2 here. I will say I don't really think I appreciate how good LMO2's original artwork was. I just would look at his thumbnail and thought it was pretty boring. But his actual body and, you know, what he had going on beforehand was pretty interesting. I actually do kind of love the way this new one looks, though. I don't know that it necessarily fits with the theme of the game, but, you know, they're trying to change it. But I do like it. It feels like very Reinhardt from Overwatch to me. Just very tough, very like a football kind of look going on to it, a little bit more compact and stuff. So I do like LMO2. I like his changes. I'm going to say he is, is he significantly better? I'm not going to say significantly better. I like it a lot, but his original design was actually pretty cool too. So we're just going to put him in the better category right now. Okay, next up we have Liqueur. Liqueur stayed pretty dang similar in design. You know, the gun's over his shoulder now instead of being in front of him, which is cooler for sure. It's really just a question of, do you like the kooky eye, which he had before, where he looked just a little crazy, versus like this feels more augmented and more powerful. For me, you know, this is tough. For me, I think I'm going to put him in the same. It's sort of just a preference thing of, do you like the more augmented look, or do you like the kind of kooky, crazy look he had going on? For me, so I'll put him in the same category. Okay, next up we have Sierra, and I'm not feeling it at all. I don't know what it is. I built a lot of Sierras. I liked Sierra. Thought she was a cool champion design. You know, I guess she still has some of the like same things going on in the face, but something about the artwork, something about the badonkadonk they put on this one just being artificially like angled. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's just not doing anything for me. And so you had a very cool looking champion that was very iconic with Idle Heroes, and now you put out this like witch looking thing. Does her weapon look better? What did her weapon look like? I don't even think her weapon looked better. She had like this like spear, and, you know, now she has like a scepter. I'm gonna put Sierra down in what? Because I really don't know what they were thinking. Like, I think Sierra was a pretty dang cool looking champion, and this one is just a little too goofy for me. And maybe what's harsh, you can let me know. Maybe significantly worse is right. Maybe you like it. I don't know, but I'm putting Sierra in what. Okay, so next up we have Rory. Rory looks a heck of a lot older here. His nose is much larger. Something about it makes it look crony. His beard is a lot more full. So he went from like this Twisted Fate magician kind of V for Vendetta character that's kind of agility looking to just like this goofy guy with a sword. Don't like it at all. You know, they're still hiding his face some. But I feel like they just kind of like changed the entire character model and what he stands for no reason whatsoever. And so I'm going to say Rory is significantly worse. So with StormHud, you're going from this like pretty classic looking dwarf character to another dwarf looking character, but you don't see his eyes anymore, and he has just these massive stupid fucking horns on top of his head. He does have the cool shoulder pads that in some characters I've liked and other characters I haven't liked. His, you know, scimitar, it's not scimitar, his axe, you know, being a little bit more rough. Some people might like. For me, I don't like it. I don't know why. I just don't like this design. Something about how dirty the old StormHud, I'm calling him StormHud. Like I said, I don't say these characters' names out too much. Something about how dirty he looked, how grimy he looked, I kind of liked. This just looks like goofy. And so if you like that goofy look, like you see how he's spry and bouncy here, you know, maybe it's for you, but for me, I'm going to say he's worse. So we got another trend going on here with Time Mage of, you know, getting rid of characters in heroes' eyes. I don't really know what the thought was. I don't know if it's that he's sleepy. I don't get it. I mean, I guess he's like time, but I don't get it. I don't like hiding the eyes. His nose, you know, is less defined and less interesting now for better or worse. Maybe his nose was problematic, a little too problematic with how large it was. He's not as tall. He's more squat. He just kind of looks tired and goofy. Time Mage, I am going to say, is he worse? Is he significantly worse? I'm going to say he's significantly worse. I don't get it. Which, you know, not very good showing right now for Fortress. Was not very happy with them. Okay, moving on to our light heroes, we have Divine Spirit. This design, I did not like the old Divine Spirit so much. I know it's weird that I like the Dark Spirit. Divine Spirit, like being that light, kind of always just wasn't that appealing to me. That being said, it's just so weird, like how wide they made this person. You know, they're almost going for like an Asmodel kind of look going on, just super big arms. You know, less, I don't know, goofy base and just super wide. And I don't like it. I'm gonna say it's worse. I'm not gonna say significantly worse, but worse is where I'm at. So looking at Fagin, I'm kind of starting to understand why they changed the artwork for this game. Oh, did you see his sword? Wait, watch this real quick. Watch his sword when he puts it in the ground. Come on, do it for me, buddy. See how it clips there? Anyway, you know, with Fagin, I think what they were kind of going for with some of this artwork is to make like these 4-star heroes that you get sooner, like a little bit more interesting, a little bit cooler looking. But there's just something very classic about the old look and just his bucket head and how just stupid big it was. Whereas this just looks like a normal, like powerful knight guy, and he's just a 4-star hero. So I don't like Fagin. He's just pretty bland, the new changes, and so I'm going to be putting him in worse category. Okay, so Disciple has a lot of changes. You know, he is just pretty dang different looking. His bird, I mean, I could see why you would find it funny. It's just kind of weird that in one hand we're going for like these cooler, more powerful looking characters. On the other hand, we're like drawing these more goofy looking characters. You know, we had the bucket head with Fagin. This one, again, we're seeing a reduction in the size of the helmet. His staff looks about the same, but that bird is just so goofy. I do like the arms better. I don't know how much you can see in the video. Like his arms are more like normal sized in this. But, you know, not having the robes, like he's a disciple, right? I mean, like he's a priest. Like I don't even know that he necessarily even looks that much like a priest here. And I'm going to be putting Disciple in significantly worse. This bird is just a little too much for me. Okay, so we are going into the last faction here, and we have Deathsworn, a very iconic hero because he can be used in a bunch of lineups. It's even kind of hard for me to see him right now with how much he's bouncing around to really get a good idea. What did they really change? So he still has his book. His arms are a pretty similar size still. His tassels are like a little bit more flowy instead of hanging down. But it's really the face. Like it's a little bit more narrow. Just, you know, pointy hat. He's just more narrow overall. And he's not like bad. I'm trying to figure out if I keep him as the same or if I put him as worse. And I think he's worse, in part just because of how iconic Deathsworn is. And this thumbnail here is truly awful, like just how wide it is. You had a very like classic, very cool thumbnail with Deathsworn that you're no longer getting. So I'm going to put him in worse. Oh, this is significantly worse. He belongs in worse. Let me fix that. Okay, next up we have Lamb. I don't know if you caught that. I mean, one thing, I do like that head falling off. That's a nice touch. He lost his gold tooth, which is not as great. Maybe he gets it at 5-star. I don't necessarily have them in front of me. He is a lot like thicker in the chest, which doesn't really make sense for a skeleton. I don't know. It's this trend we're also seeing of just making people like thicker. You know, the really lanky characters, they're just making them wider. His bow looks pretty cool still. He looks more like piratey. No, he looks less piratey. I don't know. I'm gonna put Lamb in similar. He did have some goofy things about his original design, so we'll put him in same. But that thumbnail again is awful. Like some of these thumbnails and the actual like faces just don't really hold up super well. Okay, next up we have Bone General. You can see he does have a toothbrush, which is pretty nifty. But it's very weird how he's holding a sword. Like in the other one, he used it with 2 hands, so it made sense why he was holding it back like that. But for like a one-handed strike, that doesn't make like any sense how he's holding his sword. It is like a cooler looking blade. But it doesn't really make sense like what he's doing to draw like a samurai sword like that across his body. Anyway, his horns changed color. He has gold teeth now. Maybe he did before. His cape is like more full and less ratty, a little less detail on it. I do like the toothbrush. Overall, he's pretty dang similar though, so I'm going to be putting the Bone General in same. With Nightmare Knight, we're continuing that trend of just seeing characters getting bulked up for no real reason. He's just not as scary. Like something about the hair, he looks more like I don't know, like a pretty boy Giovanni kind of guy going on. Whereas he used to have just this really creepy old guy hair that was like long in the front, party in the back or whatever. I don't know what the saying is. But for me, Nightmare Knight, he's just slightly worse. His face just looks like a little too like Brandon Fraser-y to like be scary. And like, yeah, look at this like thumbnail. This thumbnail is making it almost like significantly worse for me. Okay, next up we have Glenn. Glenn is awful. I feel very confident saying Glenn got significantly worse. He's got this giant thing underneath his chin like blocking him. Oh, the eyeball is cool though. He did have the eyeball, but how it's moving is cool. But regardless, like just how like, I don't know if he's like a minion body type. It's very weird looking. I do not like Glenn whatsoever. I thought you had a very cool looking Shadow Mage that now is just very goofy looking. I'm going to put Glenn in the what. I feel pretty confident about that. I do not like the Glenn design, whatsoever. Okay, Bone Carver is kind of interesting because his original design was kind of bad. Like it was cool in one way, but like his head was just so freaking massive. And so it was like this like really creepy, like giant headed dude coming at you. Whereas this is like a much more normal looking body type, not the body shame or whatever anybody. But Bone Carver, I'm torn. Like his face is clearly worse, but the proportions are slightly better. But I think just, the other one was like, I'm going to cut you up. Whereas this one is just like not that scary at all. He's not as like assassin-y looking. So I'm going to put Bone Carver. I don't know if I'm going to put him in worse or significantly worse. I'll go ahead and put him in worse, I think. Yeah, worse. Just because the first one did have its problems, but the face on the first one was so good compared to the face on this one. Okay, we're getting near the end, and we've got Gabagbo here. And again, another name I've never really said out loud. I'm okay with this design. It's a little more cartoony, a little more like Dragon Tales looking, kind of kiddie looking for me, and presumably they are trying to appeal to a little bit more kid. The swords are a lot lighter of a metallic color. The tusk thing going on, I'm not as big of a fan of his face, just seeing the eyes, where before it was more like of a kind of alien kind of look going on. Oh man, but again, some of these thumbnails are just so bad. Like I'm putting him in same, but the thumbnail is like significantly worse. He's just goofy looking. But overall, the design, I'm kind of okay with it. So I know you think I'm probably saving Grumpy Corpse for last, but it did just happen that he's the 8th Shadow hero, and Shadow's the last from alphabetically, but he's clearly one of the worst designed characters. Definitely going for, a more comical look as opposed to a scary look, which is a trend we've seen with these Shadow champions, going for that more comical, less scary look. The gums on this boy are just going to be making memes for a very long time. He's a very unfortunate looking individual. I guess DH Games is trying to appeal to a younger audience. They're trying to get kids to go to their parents and try to convince them why they need $2,000 for a new Transcendence hero, but they're also afraid of a Grumpy Corpse. I really don't know what the logic is, honestly. But Grumpy Corpse, if it's not obvious, falls into the significantly worse tier. And those gums are out of control. So here's my final summary for my tier list on the artwork. I'm actually kind of surprised how, you know, it wasn't significantly worse in my opinion, just a lot of worse. And there were some that I thought were same, better, or even I wasn't even sure if I'd put any significantly better, honestly. Probably get roasted alive for this. Maybe my YouTube channel will get canceled. Let me know in the comments if you agree, disagree. Feel free to fill out your own tier list. This was just something fun I wanted to do for everybody. And like I said, DH Games sometimes just gives you a gift and you have to take it. Yeah, I don't know. I hope you had fun watching this video. I'll try to be back with something else slightly more productive next time. And like I said, there'll be a link in the comments if you want to make your own tier list. I'll see y'all later. Bye.